Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about one of the most practical string skills in programming, which is parsing. Parsing is the process of extracting valid data from input based on defined rules. And so before any parsing happens in real systems, we usually perform validation check, making sure the data format is correct. But today we're not diving into validation, but today we're focusing on the parsing. And so we'll go through five real world style parsing scenarios. First of all, we're going to count the target strings. And second example would be separator based parsing. And the third one would be bracket pair extraction. And the fourth example would be building a split function. And lastly, we're going to build a replace function as well. So let's begin. Well, imagine we're scanning server logs and we want to count how many times a suspicious keyword, which is error, appears. So this is kind of, classic pattern counting. We'll use repeated find with moving index like this, as you can see. And we keep sliding forward. Each find starts from the previous match at 1, and this allows overlapping detection. What I mean by that is the starting point and ending point start from 0, and we're going to execute this command first. So the first error message comes up at index 0. So we're going to count error message to 1. And we're going to move the starting point to 1. So this is going to be 1. And we're going to find the next error message in this log data. It must be 7. So it will update it to 7. And we're going to count the counter value again. And then we're going to move the starting point to 8 to find the next error message. So it's going to turn into 8. And after that, we're going to find the next error message, which is index 11. So it will update it to index 11. And then we're going to increment the counter value again. With the same pattern, we're going to move the starting point to index 12. So this value would be updated to 12. And we're going to find the next error message, which is 20. So it's going to be updated to 20. And we're going to increment this counter value to 4. And with the same pattern, we're going to move the starting point to 21. And, we're going to still try to find out the next error message, but there is no error message anymore further. So it will return -1 if we don't find any other target message. So in this case, we're gonna, stop the process. So this is how it works. And then our final value for the counter value would be 4. So there we go. Well, first things first, I'm gonna write down the basic code first. I need the string. Well, the target string would be error, and this log would be error, okay, error, error, warn, error. There we go. And then I'm gonna make the return count. It must be integer type. Like I said before, we need the 3 different kinds of values. And I'm going to repeat with this infinite loop. So we have to find the target first using find method, starting from starting point. If n hits -1, I'm going to break it. Otherwise, I'm going to increment the counter value. And we have to move forward by updating the starting point with n at 1. So lastly, I'm going to return the counter value like this. It must be 4. 4. And how about if I throw in OK over here? It must be 3. There we go. Well, our second example is a separator-based parsing. Imagine we receive sensor data, which contains the temperature, humidity, and the pressure data. Well, we want to extract each value, and we're going to append separator at the end of the data over here, which is bar. So that parsing logic becomes uniform, and we don't really need to handle the exception in this case, because we throw in the separator at the end of this data. So I'm going to show you how it works in the Visual Studio. Well, first things first, I'm going to write down the base code first. I need the data, 24 Celsius, 60%, 1013, and I need the separator. I'm gonna make the function with the void type. Like I said before, I'm gonna append the separator at the end of this data. And we're gonna find from this data the separator. If we couldn't find, I'm gonna end this process. Otherwise, I'm gonna extract some value from this data. Substring start. The size would be n subtract start. I'm not pretty sure, but I'm gonna check with the monitor. There we go. Well, after that, I have to move forward by updating the starting value with n at 1. I'm gonna print out those values. There we go. Well, imagine we have this kind of data and we need everything inside of the brackets, which is user 1234 and OK. And so to find the left bracket, we'll use the variable a, and to find the right bracket, we'll use variable b instead of start or end, which is pretty complicated in this example. When searching for the left bracket, we start from index 0 and store the found index in A. So A would become 3. So this value would be updated to 3. And when searching for the right bracket over here, we begin from A at 1, so we can find it more efficiently. So we start from index 4 to find the right bracket. Once we find the right bracket, we store its index in B. So this must be 8. Using the values of A and B, we perform the parsing process to get the user context over here. To move on to the next pair of brackets, which is over here, we update A to B at 1, which is 9, so that we can find the next pair of bracket, especially for the left bracket from index 9. Well, we're gonna repeat this process, and if we fail to find another left bracket, which means we return the value of -1 in variable A, we immediately break out of the loop to avoid an infinite loop. Now, let me show you how this works in code. Well, first things first, I'm gonna write down the basic code first. Well, there is data, which is message with the bracket, user, and data 1, 2, 3, 4, and flag. Okay. So we're gonna print out user 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, in this example. Extract brackets. I'm gonna draw in data. It must be a void type. First thing, we need A and B. And we're gonna find the left bracket first from the data. Starting from A. This is for the left bracket. And if we couldn't find the left bracket, I'm gonna end this process. Otherwise, I'm gonna find the another bracket with the one pair. Let's start from A at 1. This is for right bracket. And so now we are ready to parsing. It must be data substring starting from A plus 1 and maybe B subtract A. I'm not quite sure, I just go with my instinct. I'm gonna check the value first. We have to subtract 1. There we go. And then when we are done with the parsing, I'm gonna print out the data. And we have to move forward for the next parsing, which is A should be updated to B at 1. There we go. So if I execute this file, it must be user 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. Well, next up, our fourth example is building a split function. So let's write down the basic code first. We need the string. Well, we need the string array, maybe size of 10. We need the data, ID, user, level, XP. Just so you know, the separator can be more than 1, like this. But in this example, I'm gonna use only 1 dash. We need the index as well, starting from 0. And the separator, which is dash. in this case. It must be the void type. I'm gonna throw in the reference to change the index data. There we go. And like I said before, I need to append the separator at the end of the data. And I need the starting point. And ending point. I'm gonna start a while loop. And I'm gonna find the separator starting from starting point. And if I couldn't find the separator after all, I'm gonna finish this process. Well, otherwise, we're allowed to store some valid value from the data string. I'm gonna increment the index data. Substring, starting from the start and end, subtract start. I just go with the instinct for the size. So in this case, I'm gonna check out how this works. ID, there we go. And after that, I need to move on for the next parsing. So I need to update the starting point to n add 1. So when we come back, I'm gonna print out the result array. There we go. This is how the split function works. But what about the separator has the 2 dash? Like this. In this case, we need to change this part. This is not 1. It can be separator length. We need to add the separator length instead of 1. There we go. Well, today's last example is building a replace function. So let's say we have this kind of sentence and we want to hide specific word, which is Tom. So I'm going to hide this name using this hashtag. So if I anticipate the result of this code, it must be parsing project hashtag 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 name hashtag hashtag hashtag. It goes like this. So there we go. First things first, I'm gonna write down the basic code first. I'm gonna make a replace function, and we need the data, target, and alternatives. So we need the string. Data would be parsing project Tom name Tom. There we go. And then the target would be Tom. We need to replace with the hashtag. It must be void type replace. And like I said before, we need to throw in the ampersand, which is reference, to directly change the data, which is in the main function, so that we can directly change the target to alternatives. Well, first things first, I need the starting point and ending point. So we're gonna find the target from start, and if we couldn't find the target, we're gonna break it, and we're gonna replace it using the method of erase and insert. So we're gonna erase starting from ending point for the size of the target length, and then we're gonna insert to the index end, and it must be the alternatives, which is hashtag. There we go. And then, like I said before, we need to update the starting point to add the length of the alternative. There we go. So this is all about the replacement. So if I execute this file, there we go. So this is all about today's video, and I hope you find it very useful through this video. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye guys.